I want to solve the questions from these two different books to see how I would have performed. 정말 뭐가 있는지 몰라요. 거짓말 하는 거 아니라 안 푼 거 찾는 거예요. 이건 답이 나오네, 그치? 이상 없어. 여기 답 말고 없어. 아씨, 왜 소리네? 그냥 틀린 줄 알았어. 들으면 되지. 난 내가 틀린 줄 알았어. 여기 있다. 몰라요. 아주 꼼꼼하게 풀어와. The blank right through it. Should the advisor manage the funds of course the client to seek more reliable advice? Ineptitude with which the advisor manages the funds of course client to C is absolutely the answer. I'm very certain of it. Don't make the sound. 그래서 내가 틀린 줄 알아서 하나 잘못돼가지고 못 올리겠다. 얘 때문에 내가 틀린 줄 알았어. 내가 맞았는데. As an American born in Iran, educated Lebanon, Bethlehem, Gregorian brought his blank of labor to Protestants. Cosmopolitan. Lawyer did not have time to consider the blank contract in detail, whether they were able to give it only blankly reading cursory. 너무 쉽다, 그지? The blank in many parts of the city has made the blank of infectious more rapid because it doesn't spread quickly. Overcrowding and propagation. 그래도 확인 squalor. Overcrowding in many parts of the city. 말이 안 되잖아. Rather say squalor in many parts of the city has made in close quarter. 야, 말이 안 되지. close quarter인데 서로 가까이 있어. overcrowd, squalor, congestion. Because close quarter, I know the difference. Much research in neuroscience today endeavors to blank mechanism by which our brain turns the blank data from our sense organ into coherence. Let me think about this. Oh, why is it so difficult to hold on to this book? I'm so sorry. Can I just hold it back? No. Because, the only reason I'm having a trouble is my camera is not working. 지금 카메라가 녹화가 잘 안 돼요. 위로 올리지를 못해요. That's a better. There's no other answer. There's absolutely no other answer. 그러면은 한 책씩 풀어볼게. 그래야지 답을 안 보는 거잖아. 정말 답을 안 봐요. 억울해 미치겠다. 아, 나 진짜 억울해. 나 계속 뭘 잘못하는 사람이래. 정답이 몇 번이야? CETA. 어허. 진짜 다 맞았다. 진짜 여기 차이를 알죠? close quarters가 있으니까 squalor 더러운 거 안 되지. 정말 이런 서브트 이해해요. 그리고 쉽게 풀어요. 지금 내가 녹화하면서 푸니까 조금 그거 한데. 또 이거 이 책 말고 그러면 또 이 책 풀고 이 책 어서 또 해볼게요. 내가 맞았는데 미치겠다. 여기 내가 맞았는데 지금 봐봐 이것도 다 맞았단 말이에요. 거짓말 안 치고 나 위쯤에서 이렇게 파운딩 해가지고 아씨 나는 그렇게 한 적이 없어. 그래도 그러면 날 안 믿네. 왜 사람들 날 안 믿을까? 이거 진짜 여기 안 푼 게 있네요. 해볼게. Serendipitous high point of a debate came when the challenger delivered blank attack on the incumbent, blessing for being soft on the crime. Excoriating. Soft on the crime. 아, 진짜 안 봤어요. Alfred Hitchcock was a blank director, an author. There was a creative control and left his blank mark on more than 50 pages. Consummate. An indelible mark. 너무 쉬워요. 진짜 안 봤어요, 다. Despite being mistaken, 다른 거 있나 보고, 결정이. Despite being mistaken, blank for leaving the gate open, Derek was a blank once the puppy crawled out. Exonerated. 차이는 알아요. 이거는 removed from the guilty suspicion. 차이를 알거든. 그리고 엄청 빨리 풀어요. 급해서 마음이 급해서 그렇게 못 기다려서 그래요. 보세요. Despite being mistakenly chastised for leaving the gate open, Derek was exonerated once the puppy crawled out from underneath the couch이지. Atoned, forgiven 아니에요. 얘는 sin을 committing 하지도 않았어요. I know the difference. While logging companies have invaded the state like blank army for the last 100 years, the Alva have not seen far behind. Rapacious. Rapacious, ravaging. 저는 이런 거 다 알아요. 왜 자꾸 사람들 나한테 뭐 그렇게 모르겠으면 종이 좀 갖다 줘. 내가 말했지. 내 지식을 테스트하고 싶으면 종이 갖다 달라고. 난 성격이 너무 급해서 빨리 왔다 갔다 해야 돼요. 또 있다. 꼭 다 맞아야 돼, 이거. On the last week of the summer break, Januar, the roads were teemed with the traffic and the beach blank with the vacationer. Teamed with. Disperse no, prescribe no, deprecated no. Stock market analysts have advised investors to examine leading economic indicator that blank a recession before making. Portend, foreshadow. 진짜 억울해. 난 이렇게 빨리 풀때. Low and blank and despair, investors of the value in the buying blank, building solely people. Utter despair, investors saw the value in buying the dilapidated, abandoned. palatial 말도 안 된다 그래. vacant 말도 안 돼. Although the cyclist had to overcome obstacles that most people would have considered blank, he was a blank and determined to qualify. 난 그렇게 멍청하지 않다. 내 마음이 진짜 아니네. 안 보고 눌렀다고. 난 그렇게 머리 나쁘지 않아요. 정말 사람들 내 마음이 전부 잘못된 정답 위에 있어. 난 못 기다려요. Although the cyclist had to over... 내가 말 바꾸면 모를 거 아니? 그럼 이 문제를 어떻게 푸니? 내가 답 봤다고? 여기 보는 사람 다 있거든? 그리고 이거 틀려서 열받아서 갑자기 푸는 거예요. 그리고 답 다 바꿨잖아. 이 문제 다 바꾼 거 맞지? 내가 보케블러리 마크하면서 요즘 본다는 텐데. 그렇게 모르겠으면 종이 주세요. 성격 진짜 급해요. Insurmountable and resolute. 나는 그런 적이 없어요. Considering that the author spent only 4 seconds signing her book, Mika decided that 8 hours was a blank amount of time. Imponderable. This one is a little tricky. I'll come back to it. And the newspaper staff had me blank with a phone call. Maybe sent us the blank will continue. Inundated. Deluge. Continue. De-deluge. Continue. 그걸 맞고. Assume the author spent only 4 seconds signing her book. He could decided the error was incumbent 말인데. Agreeable. Evanescent. No, inordinate means out of limits. Excessive. No, I'm not actually wasting my time. I'm actually really great. I spend lesser amount of time than other Americans. I'd rather say inordinate. Because imponderable is excessive in size. Almost unthinkable. Inordinate means out of limits. Almost unthinkable. I'm not crazy. I took the SAT. I can actually, outperform that what I did before. It's not difficult at all. Oh, I have that. 진짜 억울해. 정말 됐지? 못 믿겠는 사람이 있으면 내가 보여줄게. E, A, 자, E, A, E, 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 A, E, 그 다음에 B, D, B, D. 이걸 전에 분명히 했고, 이번에 A 했죠? 그리고 앞에 거 매긴 거. 진짜 너무하네. B, E, D. B, E, D, C, D. 아, 나 정말 날 못한다는 사람 죽여버리고 싶어. 정말 거짓말을 바꾼 거, 그거보다 더 고난이도 이거야. 똑같은 뜻 하는 거보다 더 문제 집어넣는 게 더 어려워. 나 진짜 억울하네. 너무 성격 진짜 급해서 그래요. 사람들 진짜 내가 바보 같아서 뜻을 바꾸면 못 찾는데. 근데 내가 잘못한 거 전부 위에 있어. 그 이유는 하나밖에 없어. 나 못 기다려서 그래요. 지금 증명해야 될 게 너무 많아요. 못 기다려요. People who actually never believe me, watch this. I have never actually seen the answer sheet. If you don't actually buy it, let me do this. 그럼 지금 같은 순간에, you know what? How would I ever actually remember the answer keys? Think about it. I just actually sold these. I probably had forgotten them if I ever actually had done that before. I probably had this forgotten completely. 다 까먹겠죠? 그럼 지금 해서 찾아봐서 아무거나 풀어볼게요. 정말 개거짓말 아닌데. 정말 난 그렇게 머리 나쁜 적이 없어요. 내가 SAT 다시 쳐올게요. 그러면 되잖아. 내 SAT 쳐오면 되지? 나는 못 기다려서 그래. SAT 쳐서 받아오면 되지? 자, 여기 풀어볼게. As the lunar cycle progresses in the coming days, the moon will continue to blank in apparent size until it's not visible next week. 웨인이 되겠지. 다음에 because General Randolph's strat 이럴 때는 웨인을 써요. The moon wanes smaller. 이거는 getting smaller 되는 거고 커지는 거는 waxes. 그 정도는 나도 알아요. 그리고 난 뜻에서 센스 알아요. Because General Randolph's stratagem had been blanked by the opposing forces, his army was blanked by a well-coordinated lethal counterattack. Predicted and decimated. Predicted spotted before ahead of time, so it was decimated. During the presidency debate, the candidates practiced the art of a blanket. They used the roundabout expression and evasive tactic to avoid the questions they were asked. Circumlocution is roundabout. 뜻을 모른다고? 웃기지 마. 나 성격 너무 급해서 클리킹 잘 못해요. 어떻게 되는 거냐면 진짜 거짓말 안 치고 항상 모든 거는 상대적이잖아. Everything is really relative. The problem is, if I ever actually spot something on top, that's the second best. But I would never give a chance to go down without actually having this type of due diligence. Then I clicked it. My finger actually reacted really quickly. If someone actually watched my YouTube, they would have understood what I'm talking about. 얼마나 빨리 인지 보여줄게요. Very propensity to blank that causes appear to view him as a blank. Pontificate, bombastic individual. 이렇게 빨리 풀어요. 옛날에 SAT 칠 때도 이거 제일 잘 쳤어요. 이거 이제 없어졌어요, SAT. 너무 아쉬워. 이거 없어졌어요. 이거 나 제일 잘 쳤어요. Napoleon Bonaparte blank his ability to dominate room. In fact, people often remember him as being much taller. Napoleon Bonaparte's diminutive frame belied his ability to dominate. He's really indeed physically small, but his sense of dominance was it contradicted him, right? Contradicted real power, charismatic power. 처음 보네. The journalist's reputation for blank had led many of his readers to doubt the blank of his article. Fabrication. Veracity of the article. Frederick, can you fucking not believe me? Oh, I feel so frustrated. I'm not fucking lying. I'm more than happy to be tested. If you ever printed out much more elaborated one, 정말 너무너무 작은 디테일 있는 거 있잖아요. 그런 거 종이로 해서 한 10,000개 한 번에 하면 안 돼요? 좀 자신 없어요. 자신 있어요. 이거는 쉬워요. 근데 이건 최소한 이런 게 아니라 사이즈 작아져도 그냥 웨인이 있고 다른 디플레이트가 있으면 당연히 웨인이죠. 문 같은 거 그런 걸 봤어요. 그런 센스 알아요. 그리고 이거 지금 열받아서 하는 거기 때문에 이게 있는지도 몰랐어요. 난 너무 열받아서 하는 거예요. 이따가 다시 풀어볼게요. 진짜 아니에요. 여기 연필 있어서 그런지 여기 다른 거는 얘기면 되죠. 이게 8 섹션 8. 난 사람들 내가 너무 바보여서 그렇다고 나는 BCBC 되게 bombastics 이것도 다 느낌 있잖아. 이거 봐봐. Eulogize equations 정말 느낌 모르는 목표잖아. 그거보다 더 어렵잖아. 그거보다 어렵잖아. D. 야, 그거보다 어렵다. 얼마나 빨리 읽었네. 진짜 Frederick Pohn's 도와줘. I really like to actually share this. I have no intention of lying. I will be tested. I will take the SAT, and I will follow whatever instructions given by my husband. I'm very happy to be thoroughly reviewed or examined by Frederick to actually have my understanding checked and verified. But normally, I had a very serious impulsion. Because, if there are two different options, because everything is relatively arranged, you have to find the best solution, the optimized one. But before I actually look into that quality, I normally settle down for the first one. First clicked. I had a little impulsion so seriously affecting me. Why is this though? Because I really would be struggling with this type of pressure. Oh, if you remember this, you would have probably forget this much. They could never coexist. So I have to cover this much terrain at once. That type of pressure is too big. I would have never overcome that. I wanted to mark it really quickly. 이렇게 마킹을 빨리 하고 싶어요. I like to mark the answer and move on to next one. Click, click, click. So I could easily, in case I made a mistake, I can easily correct it. 정말 correcting을 빨리 할 수 있는. Think about it. I'm really kind of person. Oh no, like this. If you ever actually watch me solving this, oh, are you sure? I don't know. There's a better answer like this. This is who I am. Because of this, words had a very short attention span requiring. I'm not lying. 이건 안 읽었네. 몇 번이야? C. 정말 하나도 안 속였어요. 진짜 몰라요. 그리고 또 모른다고 하는 사람 또 다른 책 가져와서 또. 정말 이게 더 어려워요. 그리고 누가 바꿨지 책. 그냥 안 푼 부분 찾는 거예요. 또 있다. 이거 제일 마지막이다. 여기 답은 상관없어요. 앞에 답은. 연필 있어가지고 빼려고 하는 거지. proving이랑 elicit, evoke, bring out. 나 그렇게 병신 아니야, Frederick. I'm not such an idiotic jerk. I'm not a simpleton. I understand the subtlety. Excuse me? What is the difference between two different photographs when they are placed in juxtaposition, side by side? 제발요, side by side 주면은 너무너무 쉽게 할 수 있어요. The bagger smiled as he threw back the nickel, saying, "Here, you need a more sardonically, like contemptuously, or disdainfully, condescendingly, condescending." 나 그렇게 바보 아니야, Frederick. I really know the feeling. This is all about feeling. Although he had a blank about the storm, she had a blank about her ability to navigate safely through it. She had qualms about a little bit of a discomfort, uneasy feeling, but she had an ability. She felt normally not easy, uneasy feeling. It's a little bit, uneasy. But, she actually had a inner resources, inner gumption. Okay? Being a stickler for promptness is just one of Aaron's many. Peccadillo minor faults. Skills doesn't make sense. Peccadillo sounds better. Assertion. Assertion sounds bizarre. Like foibles. Being a stickler means one. 정말 안 까먹는데. one's own faith, stubborn, in a stubborn way. 진짜 거짓말이야. 이런 식으로 한 번만 테스트 받으면 단어 뜻 진짜 definition 골라라. 이렇게 하면 안 돼? 확인해봐라. aversion 아니야. 난 이렇게 하고 싶어요. 단어는 너무 조금이어서 급해요. 정말 거짓말이야. 정말 안 까먹고. 근데 정말이에요. Let me explain this in English. I'm not a liar, and I don't think I have a megalomaniac delusion. I don't really forget. But I know I had a little problem called impulsion. Because, you know, as I repeat this session, this type of chronic disease gets worse and worse and worse. But normally, everything is relative. That means you should follow the rule of correlation. Everything is well arranged. The best answer is always a relationship between two different choices. You have to say every single time you have to weigh pros and cons. You have to do that. But if you don't do that, you're going to end up having a wrong answer. Whenever I solve the smartphone, I can never actually control my fingers. I just literally pick out something on top. Most of my wrong answers are placed on top. This is a much elevated way of doing. Because you need to understand the sentence, and you need to also find the right answer. You actually saw that close quarter. You know what, disease, something. In a close quarter, that's in the vicinity. That's the real reason I said overcrowding. Instead of squalor. Squalor means, something filthy. Squalor. 왜 squalor 안 했냐고? 여기 close quarter 힌트 Q가 있으니까 there's a Q indicating it's because of a high density of a population. 그거 알아요, 보여요. 근데 이거 조금 이상하지. 답을 안 봤는데 이거 약간 이상하잖아. weakness foibles 나왔잖아. 네가 foible냐면. foible는 weakness가 더 맞는데 어떻게 생각하냐? 아직 답 안 봤어. 마지막 기회를. rather than weaknesses being a stickler for fun. Yeah, I'd rather say the weaknesses is foible. foible 가까우니까 peccadillo. In a broader context, a minor fault. I'd rather not use it. Are you sure? Yeah. I really wish that we have a foibles. I'd rather say weaknesses. That's a flaws. Characteristic flaws니까 weakness가 맞지 않겠네. 몇 번이야? 섹션 몇 번? 2. DBC, DC, DBC. 뭔데? 아, 페카딜로가 맞네요. 틀렸다, 얘네. 페카딜로가 맞네. 인정할게. 틀린 거는 제 거짓말 안 해. 틀렸어. 페카딜로가 맞다. 아, 마이너 폴트인데. 안타깝게도 하나 틀렸네요. 인정하고. 아, 고민했는데 괜히 맞췄다. 잠깐만. weakness. 아, 난 포이브 너무 하고 싶은데. 아, 씨. Ew. Fuck. Ah. Yeah. Peccadillo is better. 야, 바보. 이렇게 되는 게 더, 이게 weakness가 돼야지. 얘는, being indiscreet. 이게 weakness. 이런 식으로 vulnerability가 있어야지. 그렇구나. 그게 낫겠다. 내 잘못이에요. Absolutely, I saw everything. Being a stickler for prompt. He does that. Think about it. Stickler. It's my fault. Being a stickler means, somebody who sticks to it. Sticks to something. And it's your own opinion, right? And it's your choice. It's not really your vulnerability. 그래서 그렇구나. Your vulnerability, like for instance, your impatience, then that's a weakness. 그러면 이건 weakness. This is weakness. If certain characteristic flaws that might be being vulnerable, then that's a weakness. But this is just being a stickler who somebody sticks to the virtue of rapidity and somebody, something being done really quick. That's your choice. Your choice, and it's your minor fault. You had a very perverted idea. That's not right. I admit that I was wrong. 조금 해야 될 부분이 있긴 한데 그렇게 병신 아니에요. 왜냐면 결국엔 뜻은 알고는 있어요. 미안합니다. 또 있다. 이걸 꼭 담아줄게요. 무조건 담아줘. 이거 안 맞으면 닌 죽었다. Vicariously, second-handed. 프레드릭 어머니한테 너무 죄송하지만 난 그렇게 가봐. 이게 좀 시험 칠게요. 가서 처음 되죠. 정말인데 프레드릭 부모님 너무 죄송해요. 보시면 그렇게 느리게 영어 읽지도 않고 병신도 아니에요. Deferential, respectful. The college throws a blanket student body, very different, like diverse, eclectic, groups in freshman class. Heterogeneous. Wider blank to learn that the head of human resources said that he was a blank for the job. Dismayed in devastation. Was unsuitable, unfit for the job. 이거는 dismayed and emotionally troubled 이런 뜻입니다. While his partner furious with the loss of one of his informant, was a blank and showed no real emotion when he learned of the loss. Apathetic. He was actually numb to his loss. He was too shocked to feel anything due to the devastating don't do it. Due to what? Due to the heartbreaking loss gut wrenching. 정말 거짓말이에요. 이런 감정, 이런 거 시험 많이 칠게요. 궁금하면 물어보세요. 감정을 테스트 받고 싶다. 정말 아는데. 네, 좀 제발 좀 답을 좀 다시 좀 보게 해주세요. 사람이 마음은 급해. 성격 진짜 좀 많이 급해. 고치기에.